Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you to our Governor's Council hearing. And I first would like to introduce my colleagues. Okay, if I can see them. Councillor Joe Ferrara, Councillor Juvenville, Councillor Iannella, Councillor Duff, Councillor Hurley. Did I forget anybody? It's hard because they're on Zoom. I'm trying to, okay, I think I do. Okay, so I'm going to open this hearing, and I want to welcome you, Tamara, and I'm going to read the letter from the governor appointing you. Okay, the letter is dated August 19th, 2020. Dear councillors, I am pleased to nominate Tamara Lee Ricciardone for appointment to the Industrial Accident Board to a term expiring on May 29, 2025. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 23E, Section 4. I am enclosing the nominee's resume for your review. Now, before I call on the witnesses, there's a correction, and it has to be done now, and I will make that correction now. This letter is appointing our nominee for 4 years and about 9 months, which is incorrect. I have to go back to a person who was up for reappointment and wrote a letter. And I'm going to read that letter, okay? It's dated January 21, 2020. Dear Governor Baker, it is with deep regret that I ask you to withdraw my nomination for reappointment to the Industrial Accident Board. Governor, it has been a pleasure to serve. There is an accompanying letter from the governor given to all the councilors, dated January 22, 2020. Dear councilors, Sabina Hurley has requested that her nomination to the position of Administration Justice of the Industrial Accident Board be withdrawn, and I respectfully request that my nomination of her to that position is so withdrawn. Councilors, we were upset because this person continued. The governor clearly said that he was not going to renominate her, and yet she has been a continuing judge, getting paid, and that's not what this council approves of. So having said that, I want to go back to the letter of the governor giving the incorrect term for this new nominee. Now, as I said, it's like 4 years and 9 months. So the governor is referring to, he submits the nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 23E, Section 4. So I'm going to read that chapter to put it in the record. Chapter 23E, Section 4, Mass General Law, governs the selection and appointment process of administrative judges and administrative law judges of the Industrial Accident Board. Whereas the governor, with advice and consent of Executive Council, has the statutory authority to appoint and reappoint administrative judges and administrative law judges for the terms of 6 years, pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 23E, C23E, Section 4 and 5. And it goes on to say, whereas public trust and confidence in the DIA's Division of Dispute Resolution begins with the process of which administrative judges and administrative law judges are appointed. So I'm putting that out on the record because if you are if you are approved with advice and consent of this council, Attorney Ricciardone, your term will be, if the council votes September 9th, a week from today, your term will go to September 9, 2026, not May 29, 2025. So I am going to advise the governor of this mistake, because according to Mass General Law, no one has ever got less than 6 years, ever. And I know the council will not approve of you getting less according to the law. So having said that, I will call on your witnesses. I don't have my list. Where's my list of witnesses? Can someone give me the list of witnesses?
Do you have a list? I don't have a list.
Okay, I wish I would really like to announce you, really, but, okay. Can you bring it to me? Okay. Got a lot of papers, but not with that. Okay, all right. This is my official list, okay? And the first person is, I can't read this, Joseph. Okay, and the other one, I can't.
Judy Gray. Judy Gray.
Can't read it. Can't read this official letter. Okay. Whoever, somebody.
Are you Judy Gray? Yes. Yes. Judy Gray.
Attorney Gray.
Attorney Gray.
It's Attorney Judy Gray. Did I get that right? I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. This is my official, okay. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the Governor's Council. It is with utmost confidence and one of my greatest privileges for you to support the appointment of Tamara Ricciardone.
I can't hear her.
Can you put your microphone closer to you, because the councilors are on Zoom, it's hard to hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you all hear? Can you all hear?
Excuse me, I can't see Marilyn or the witness.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let's hold on a minute. Let's see if we can get some technical advice here. Thank you, Mary, for letting us know. I can see you, Mary.
I know, I can see you, I can see Bob, and I can see the other counselors. I can't see you, Marilyn, and I can't see.
There I am. Councilor Hurley, the video on our side is good, and you're saying you can't see anyone from your side?
I can see the counselors that are zooming in. I can't see Marilyn, and I can't see the witness.
Okay. I'm really not sure how to resolve it on your side of the video. Right now, we may just have to proceed with audio only on your side. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Shall I?
Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption.
That's quite all right.
And I'm sorry to the councilors who can't see me and the witness. Okay, Attorney Judy Gray?
Thank you very much. Again, Attorney Gray, members of the Governor's Council, it is with utmost confidence and one of my greatest privileges to have been asked to appear before you today in support of the appointment of Tamara Ricciardone to the position of Administrative Judge to the Department of Industrial Accidents. When I learned that Attorney Ricciardone had put her application to the Governor for an Administrative Judge appointment, I offered to write a letter of recommendation. I want to recap in part why I believe that you have, collectively, made a most wonderful choice in considering her nomination. Reading in part my letter of recommendation. In my experience as a practitioner before the department over the last 30 years, I have come to realize the importance of certain values necessary to be worthy to such an appointment. Qualities for success as a judge include her demeanor, the integrity which she demonstrates in administering the law, and the knowledge and understanding of the law she seeks to apply. Demeanor speaks to courtroom decorum. the method and means by which a judge considers each party's position, and how she reacts to the arguments posited by the attorney for the respective clients. Integrity, by its definition, requires the candidate to possess strong moral principles and to never waver from them despite having to make difficult rulings and decisions. Knowledge of the law is self-evident, but essential to success and respect. Now, consider for a moment that one person could possess all these attributes, and that as counsel to the governor collectively, you could nominate her. This person is Attorney Ricciardone. In my experience, she is a brilliant practitioner, knowledgeable in all areas of workers' compensation law. She is innovative and always willing to discuss and share new and exciting ideas. Tamara stands out above all others. She is someone who exhibits grace, wisdom, and integrity in and outside of the courtroom setting. She works diligently for her client while also demonstrating a fair-mindedness directed to the injured worker. Whether in the courtroom or not, she exudes poise and confidence and would make an outstanding administrative judge. Those words remain true today as they did when I first wrote the letter, and they will remain true 20 years from now when I have no doubt that Judge Ricciardone will have proven herself to be fair, regarded, and respected judge at the Department of Industrial Accidents. It is my sincere hope that I have provided you today a glimpse into who Attorney Ricciardone is, a zealous, compassionate, just advocate, someone who I have no doubt will make a remarkable judge. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask any of the councilors if you have any questions.
I do.
Councillor Duvendal.
Good morning. I can't hear you. Get closer to the...
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
I can, thank you.
Okay.
So you've been practicing for 30 years?
Well, longer than that, but yes, 30 years before the board, yes.
You practice at the bar?
I do, sir, yes.
And tell me about, do you represent clients or insurance companies?
When I first started in my career many years back, I represented the insurance companies. But now I've been with the firm Ketchus Law Group for 30 years now, so I've been representing injured workers for that time period.
Is that the law firm? They have an office in Milton?
Yes, they do.
This nominee has a background in representing insurance companies. Does that give you any pause?
No, it does not, because I've worked against her. And as I indicated in my statement, Tamara I find to be compassionate, understanding, and very willing to listen and consider the individual cases that she handles. I can give you an example of one if you'd like, because it really does stick in my mind, but I'm not sure how you want me to approach that at this point.
Okay, tell me.
Sure. So we had a case together. Obviously, I can't give names, but I had a client that was a young mom. She was a single mom. She had about, I think her child was 9 years of age, and she cared for her parents as well. She was injured at work, and initially, really, we thought it was somewhat of a, I say benign injury, but what it turned out to be was something that we refer to as chronic regional pain or reflex sympathetic dystrophy. It's a very, very debilitating disease. And when I learned that that's where the diagnosis was going, I actually contacted Attorney Ricciardone and I said to her, this is where the doctors are going with this. Now, most insurance companies, quite frankly, will balk at that diagnosis. It's one that they don't want to accept because it carries long-term treatment. But Attorney Ricciardone, in hindsight, did exactly what she should have done. She had the employee examined by a doctor, a good doctor, a doctor with knowledge of that condition. And when that doctor confirmed that that was the diagnosis, we worked together to get this woman the treatment that she required. And you don't see that often, but it was necessary to essentially keep this woman active enough to care for her son and her parents. So I don't have questions about Attorney Ricciardone in terms of what she would be as a judge.
Well, the other concern I have, having voted for a person 6 years ago, and that person sat before the council with witnesses saying that all good things about the nominee and how the nominee was wonderful. That nominee didn't turn out so wonderful after she had a robe put on her. Do you have any concerns that this nominee will change after she gets a robe?
I don't, Councilman, and I would ask that, if it's my place to ask, and I'm not sure that it is, but I would ask that you look at Tamara individually. She really is, I think, as I said to you in my statement, 20 years from now, she will be found and considered to be one of the best judges that you have ever appointed. I truly believe that. I would not be here if I didn't.
So if she's confirmed and she becomes a judge and it doesn't work out, should I call you?
You certainly can.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give you my number when we're done.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome, sir.
Any other councilors have a question? No other questions? No other councilors have a question? Okay, first of all, thank you for coming.
You're more than welcome.
I'm sorry I didn't have your name in advance.
It's quite all right. You've had a tough day.
You know, you gave a lot of attributes. If you could give me one, what is the greatest attribute that this nominee can bring to the Division of Industrial Accidents?
I have to pick one? Just
Okay.
one? Okay. I would say her knowledge of the law. I really would.
Yeah.
She, in my experience dealing with Tamara, she researches all issues that are novel. In that particular case that I was discussing, one of the issues that came up was the use of medical marijuana, which at the time we did not have a decision from the reviewing board as to whether or not insurers could be required to pay for medical marijuana. But at the time, quite frankly, it was not appropriate for the insurers to be doing that. And ultimately, a decision came down that does not allow the workers' comp insurers to pay for medical marijuana. And again, not because she wanted to argue against it, but because she had to. She did.
Well, you know, your introduction has said it all. I don't even have a question to ask you. And I thank you for coming.
You're more than
Your
welcome.
testimony means a lot because how long have you been observing this nominee? I mean, have you've seen her in person, in action?
Oh, my goodness. It's got to be 20-plus years anyway. 20-plus years anyway, at least.
Right, 20-plus years.
I would say.
Okay. I think that's a good endorsement. Right,
Thank you.
right. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, folks.
Now, again, I don't have an official list, and I'm looking at this writing that's hard to read, and I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. I can get Joseph. Is it Aguelli?
Agnelli.
Is that it?
Agnelli.
Okay, so that's, okay. So tell me how you say it.
Agnelli.
Aguelli. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Joseph F. Agnelli Jr. I'm president attorney working with my son in Worcester, Massachusetts. And the only I can top Judy's speech is that I have a little bit more time in the practice than she does. This coming December will be 40 years I've been in the practice of law in Massachusetts.
God bless you.
And I've done all workers' compensation for those 40 years. I'm delighted and extremely honored to appear before you this afternoon to provide my wholehearted support in the nomination of Tamara as an administrative judge at the DIA. I have had the pleasure of knowing Tamara for over 25 years, probably, as she started out in the practice sometime after I did. But I got... Is that me?
The joys of Zoom.
Yes. I first got to know her real well, though, about 20-plus years ago when she was editing a very handy manual that MCLE put out in 1991, I believe it was. 2001, excuse me, 2001. And it was a treatise that's now being regarded as one of the handbooks of workers' comp practice in Massachusetts. And she was kind enough to invite me to participate and be one of the contributing authors in that book, which is still available today and is edited at least once a year. As well as that, I've been able to have many cases with her for the past 20-plus years. Some stand out, some don't, because she's always been a very worthy advocate. I've had consistent dealings with her. But one case, I know Judy cited an example, and we'll cite one instance, a very small instance, but it was a very important thing to me and how Tamara approaches these things. I was called by an elderly lady living in the Metro West area who was about 90 years old, still working, worked for one of the medical facilities in the city, sustained an injury. Unfortunately, didn't really put things through workers' compensation, so she consulted me through her son. And I drove out to her house, there's a little small house out in the Wellesley area, met with her for about an hour, told her the story. I said, well, this could be difficult, but I think I know what I'm going to do. I contacted Tamara, so I knew she represented this insurer, self-insurer, large medical corporation, and explained the situation. And to her credit, she picked up the phone, did something, and made things happen to the lady. Got her bills paid, that's all she wanted was her bills paid. And it happened within a matter of weeks. So that, even though the small little episode, this lady was thrilled. I mean, she praised me and said, well, you can't just praise me, you're going to praise my opponent, because she picked up the phone and did what any good human being would do, despite the fact she represents a large medical insurer in the Commonwealth. Regardless, she's been a strong advocate for all her clients, and she represents a lot of self-insurers, a lot of large medical corporations. Always makes first-rate presentations at the board. The judges think very highly of her. I've spoken to many judges about her. I've heard nothing bad about her from any judges at the board. She deals fairly, is open to compromise, and diplomacy in whatever case she handles. It was in this backdrop that I invited her to participate as a faculty member of the MCLE Workers' Comp Update, which I've chaired now for over 20 years. It's a large gathering of attorneys and judges that present in November, and Tamara was a volunteer to come in and do it, and she brought to those programs a vast working knowledge of the Act and procedure, and it was always well received by people in the audience. And she continues to do so this year as well. We have another one coming up, although by Zoom. I still look forward to having her participate on the faculty. I consider Tamara the whole package. I know Councillor Devaney, you asked a question, what's her best attribute? Well, there are too many to really name and identify one as being tops, but I see fairness is probably the tops, just decency. I think I'd probably put them on the same plateau. She's also very active in the community. She lives in Acton. She's very active in the community. She's a dedicated mother to two. Sorry. College-age kids, and, just bought one down in Maryland, I believe, not too long ago. So obviously, she's well-rounded. She's a solid individual with a strong work ethic, diverse background in the workers' comp field. I have no qualms about saying that she'll be a great asset to the board. People before receive nothing but fairness, understanding, even-temperedness, for all these decisions, and most all compassion. So on occasion that I support her nomination to the position of DIA, and respectfully request this august council act favorably on her nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the councillors? They're being quiet today. So how many years have you known this nominee professionally?
Probably pushing 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah. But 20 years that are more active because of the MCLE programs and all that. So I've had her involved quite often with those programs, so much more often than in the past.
Well, your testimony means a lot.
Thank you.
Because sometimes we have someone, and I'll ask, how many times have you seen this person in court or, once? That's not what I want to hear. 25 years is what I like to hear. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
I have to announce that we have Chief Omar Hernandez here. And Omar, would you like to speak while you came? Okay,
I
great.
can say a few
Welcome.
words. Good afternoon. Omar Hernandez, always a pleasure to appear before the council. You have two highly respected, outstanding attorneys who have testified on her behalf. I have the utmost respect for Attorney Gray and Attorney Agnelli. I'm not going to repeat what they say. I'm just going to echo and second that motion as to what they say. This nominee, when I first heard that she was being coming up here, I was truly excited. Selfishly, for training purposes, it's going to be a very smooth transition. We have to do it by Zoom, so in a selfish reason, it's going to be absolutely fine. But in all seriousness, she is just an outstanding. She's going to be an outstanding judge. I've known her for, I don't give out time because it gives out ages, but for a long period of time. I would say almost like 20 years. I've seen her as an attorney appearing before me. And this November, we're going to be chairing an MCLE part. We're doing like a 50 tips on workers' comp, so we're working together in November. And I can't think truly a better candidate for this position. She possesses all the qualities of a judge, and I've seen many judges, and I know she's going to be truly successful. When you said earlier, one attribute, there were many, and one I'm going to say her intelligence and her compassion. And that's something you really need as a judge, to show that compassion of the people appearing before you. And that goes for both sides. So I have absolutely no doubt, I have no hesitation in welcoming her, and I ask for everyone's support.
Well, you've seen many come before you in all the years you've served, and I thank you for your service. We couldn't ask for anyone more fair or more compassionate. So, I'm thinking collectively, the three of you, it's like 70 years you've known,
Sure.
put it all together.
Exactly.
Does any councilor have a question for Omar? I guess not. So thank you so. I can't hear. Who's it?
It's Chris.
Okay, Chris. Councilor Agnella, you're on.
Excuse me, and then after me, I believe Councilor Jupiterville would like to say something. I don't know if his mic was on. Not a question, just a comment. It's great to see you, Judge Hernandez. You do a phenomenal job at the board. Everyone has the highest praise for you. And when you come before the council, I, for one, listen to what you say, and it's a pleasure to see you. And the two previous witnesses I have high regard for. So when you have three super people like you three speaking on behalf of the nominee, that's good enough for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ainella. Councilor Juvenville, you have a question?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Chief, I would reiterate what Councilor Ainella said, because I feel the same way about you. And I think you're doing a wonderful job, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you something that has troubled me. We had a hearing on February 22nd with a judge, and you were present. And that judge, in my view, lied to this council over and over again. She withdrew her nomination, we were told, on the following Wednesday morning. My question is, how come she's allowed to sit as a judge since that date?
Well, I believe under Chapter 30, Section 9, any appointed officials appointed by the governor continue to serve until their successor is appointed. She continued to do cases. She did status conference mediations, lump sum, so she continued to provide value to the DI, although in more of a limited capacity, but she did provide value during that time.
I was told she wasn't assigned any new cases.
Well, we're going through a transition from in-person to Zoom, or not to Zoom, to virtual, which for the last 6 months has been quite the challenge. But we were anticipating a new candidate coming in, and we didn't want to start one case and then have to switch it midstream. Then to be consistent, something we've always done, at least under my guidance as previous senior judges, when there's that transition, we kind of take them offline and have them just do other things that doesn't have the huge impact on the cases.
Well, fair enough. Let me ask you, what is the procedure to, I'm not so much speaking of her, but for any judge in the future, what is the procedure to remove a judge that does something improper at the board?
I believe under 23E, I want to say section either 7 or 8, there is a process to remove a judge, and basically it's a reappointment process in reverse. I believe a complaint is filed, and then there's certain hearings, and it goes up the chain, almost like a reappointment process, but in a more, not as a favorable situation. As far as I know, it's never been used.
So somebody would file a complaint, and that judge would then be removed? I can't hear you.
It's a process. It's outlined in statute. I don't have it before me, okay. But I know it's not an easy process. But my understanding of it, it basically is the appointment process. But instead of appointing, it's to remove her.
And I just find it troubling that a judge sat before our council and she didn't commit perjury because we don't have a right to give an oath, a truth-telling oath by the legislature. But she lied to this council, in my view, over and over again. So why, I don't want to put you on the spot, but why wasn't some complaint made to her? Why does a woman or a man sit with the designation of a judge in front of their name when they've come to this council and lied? I don't understand that.
I don't know how to answer. I don't know, sir.
It's not against you, Judge. I'm just venting about it because I received a lot of calls from people about this as to why she was still up there. People that watched the hearing, they came to the same conclusion just about everybody in that room came to. So it's not about you, but I'm just venting about it. But thank you so much, Judge. I do respect you and I like you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor. I obviously, you know, I think I don't have a poker face, and I've been, and I follow up on what the council said. It was upsetting, and I would just like to. You know, it's one thing to say she lied, and that's a strong word. But it wasn't just one person. It was two lawyers that came. I got calls, and I think the most egregious thing that I've ever heard in 21 years was the calls I got, and one of the lawyers brought up a particular case. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to mention one for the record. There was an injured, very seriously injured worker that was before Judge Sabine Herlihy. And Judge Herlihy spotted this pregnant woman, and she said to the injured worker, "Is that your wife?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "If you can do that, you can work." She should have been removed on the spot. And, you know, I have never heard such egregious things. And to me, that complaint should have had her removed. What is upsetting to me is that I have this letter from her saying that she is withdrawing her nomination for reappointment to the Industrial Accident Board. And it's dated January 21, 2020, because she knew very clearly from that hearing. Every time anything was brought up, any of the cases that she was so outrageous and the complaints about her, she kept saying, "I don't know, I don't remember. Yes, she lied." And that's very strong for us to say someone lied, but she did. And what I'm saying is that, yeah, I have that chapter. I have that Mass General Law, 23E, Section 4. I did my homework, and you're right. But you know what? All bets are off when she wrote this letter, and she said, "I asked to withdraw my nomination for reappointment to the Industrial Accident Board." And then the governor sends us a letter, the council, to say that she has withdrawn, and I respectfully request that my nomination of her to that position be so withdrawn. So that's when she should have been removed. And it's upsetting to me that she was able to continue. So I think, yes, that's the law. But when someone has complaints, no, she had no right to. And she had no right to take the money. And I think for, you know, for a councilor to find out after the fact, it's very upsetting to get calls, to hear. So, you know, I'm sorry to put it to you, because I have voted for you 3 times. I mean, no one knows. I have such respect for you. We are blessed to have you, because there's no one more honest, more fair. I trust you. And I'll tell you, we have the best industrial accident board, by far, with one exception. And I'm sorry, I think she was, it's outrageous that she took the money after she gave this letter that she withdrew. So I'm going to put that in the record. The other thing is, and it hasn't pertained to you, but it's upsetting to me that the governor is appointing this nominee for 4 years and 9 months. It's against the chapter and verse of the Mass General Law. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get another letter from the governor saying that she has a 6-year term. I mean, you know, we don't have a lot of authority. I think people think we do. We only have the right to vote yes or no, our advice and consent. But this is really, I've never seen anything like this in 21 years. And we don't want the good name of the Industrial Accident Board be marred by this person. And so she was rewarded by the governor. That was wrong. So I'm sorry. You're probably sorry.
It's fine. No, and we're moving forward. I'm sorry to interrupt. We're moving forward. We've got a great nominee here. Today's her day. I know that it was a very upsetting interview, and I agree with you. She will get a 6-year term because under executive order.
Because I'm holding the governor to the chapter that he mentioned in his letter, and it says 6 years. And I know no one has ever got less than 6 years, and she shouldn't be paying for a past nominee. So
No,
that's where we are. But I'll tell you, you coming and taking the time to testify for her, it means everything to me.
Thank you.
Because you wouldn't come and sit and say that, or those things. So I really thank you, and I know the councilors all have respect for you. I don't know anyone that doesn't. So I thank you and wish you good health and continued success on the Industrial Action Board.
Thank you very much.
Give my best to all the members.
Thank you. And just to conclude, under Executive 456, every judge gets 6 years, and that hasn't changed since 2001. So I am very confident she will get her 6 years. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry we had to get through all of that stuff, but, you know, I welcome you, Tamara, and I have to tell you, off the record, I am so proud that we're all pronouncing your husband's name right, because you know why? The only thing I know in Italian, my mother told me, tu Caesar Cha, because her name was Danucci. Okay, right? Okay, so welcome. And I welcome you to make your presentation, and we have all the councilors here ready to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for their nomination. I'd also like to thank each of the council members for being here today to consider my application and for having taken the time that you took to speak with me. And of course, I want to thank my friends and my family for being here today and supporting me. I really am truly honored to be here. I was asked to tell you all a little bit about myself. I was born in San Jose, California. My mother's parents were dairy farmers in Nevada, and she was the first in her family to attend college. She was self-employed when we were growing up as a piano teacher and a tailor, and she had a specialty in designing clothing for the post-mastectomy. She's now retired and living in Nevada. On my father's side, my grandfather was a miner and a rancher, and my grandmother was a school teacher. My father served in Korea, where he repaired and rebuilt optical equipment in the maintenance division. He attended college at night while working and eventually was hired by AT&T, which brought our family to Long Valley, New Jersey. He worked there until his retirement and now works in commercial real estate. He and my stepmother live in Norcross, Georgia, where they are both very heavily involved in the design and construction of the city's parks and recreation areas. I attended the Johns Hopkins University and Boston College Law School. That's where I met my husband, Sal. We've been married 25 years this November. He works at MCLE as the Director of Philanthropy and Special Projects. We have 2 wonderful kids. We just brought them both to college this past week. My daughter is a senior at Providence College, and she's studying elementary education and special education. And my son, Frank, is a freshman at University of Maryland, where he's studying criminology. When I graduated from law school in 1992, I was fortunate to get a job with the firm of Smith Duggan, where Scott Smith introduced me to the world of workers' compensation. Through my representation of the Brigham and Women's Hospital, I developed an expertise in handling multiple chemical sensitivity cases. That ultimately led me to being hired by Electric Insurance to handle their toxic workers' compensation claims. I worked there for about 2 years when I had my daughter. At that point, we were living in Braintree, and the commute from Braintree to Beverly had become quite onerous. So I spoke with my prior firm, and Smith Duggan welcomed me back. I've been there ever since. Early in my practice, I handled a variety of cases, including workers' compensation claims, fire litigation, and plaintiff's personal injury cases. I also began volunteering at MCLE, where for the past 20 years, I've served as an editor for the Workers' Compensation Practice Manual. I've been the reviewer for the Workers' Compensation Law Source Book, and I've served as a speaker and an author on several MCLE seminars. Our family moved to Acton in 2004 when my firm opened its office in Lincoln. I became active in the community by first serving as a member of the C.T. Douglas School Elementary Council. And I've served several years as a costume designer for the high school's theater program, Proscenium Circus. In 2006, Scott Smith retired, and I became the head of the firm's workers' compensation department. In that capacity, I have represented Mass General Brigham in its workers' compensation claims. And although I've been a zealous advocate for my client, I also appreciate that the workers' comp statute is appropriately designed to protect the injured worker. I believe that I have developed a reputation for being fair, respectful, and creative in coming to reaching solutions. I recognize that employees appearing before the board are at a very difficult time in their lives, and they certainly did not choose to be there. This is the only case that they have ever had for many of them, and it impacts every aspect of their lives. They deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. If confirmed, I plan to bring those same qualities, fairness, respect, and compassion, to my courtroom. It is an honor to have been nominated as an administrative judge of the Department of Industrial Accidents, and it will be a privilege to serve. I humbly ask for your vote in support of my nomination, and I again thank all of you for your time.
Thank you. Before I call on the councilors, why don't you introduce your husband, who is here?
Oh, sure. This is my husband, Sal Ricciardone.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. Now, the other thing is, before I call on the councilors, I want to read a letter that says you're qualified. Now, the thing that's interesting for people to know, the date of this letter is January 17, 2019. Okay? So this letter was given to me as a counselor by former legal counsel for the governor, Lon Povich. And it's a letter to him from John Puliggy, who is a chair of the Massachusetts Workers' Compensation Advisory Council. So as I said, this is a year ago, January. Dear Attorney Povich, the Massachusetts Workers' Compensation Advisory Council has reviewed the qualifications of Tamara Lee Ricciardone to serve as an administrative judge at the Department of Industrial Accidents, pursuant to our authority under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 23E, Section 9. Following an interview on January 17, 2019, the Advisory Council has determined that Tamara Lee Ricciardone is qualified, and they put it in bold and underlined it, for appointment as an administrative judge. Now, the interesting thing about this letter is that Attorney Ricciardone was not appointed. And it's interesting that, I get a letter that's, a year and a half old, more than that. I don't know why, but that's what it is. And I just personally want to thank you for reapplying. Because sometimes when someone is bypassed like that, they don't apply again. And there's a lot of good lawyers out there that we lose because they just are very despondent about the process and they don't again. So having said that, I want to thank you. And I'm going to open up to the councilors. Any questions?
Councilor,
I
I don't have a
see-
comment.
I only see Councilor Hurley and I don't know what's happening with Zoom, and Councilor Duff. Whoever's there. Anybody have any questions?
Councilor, Joe Perugine.
Is that Joe? Okay, I can't see or hear you. All right, Councilor Pereira,
Yes, thank you.
wherever you are.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I don't have any questions for the nominee. We spent a lot of time speaking with each other. She's going to be a great judge. I got calls from Sean Flaherty, Mike Ocasian, and Bill Nealon, some of the superstars, along with Councilor Ianella in the workers' comp courts, and they all sang your praises very much. So you have my vote and support now. Thank you for applying.
Councilor. Do I see Councilor Juvenville?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I can't hear you. You're not close enough to the mic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. I know you called me twice, and I hate not getting back to people, so I apologize to you for that. I wanna ask you. You've been at the board for quite a while, doing business as a lawyer. Tell me what the board. Tell me about the board, a little bit about your knowledge of the board. If you know, when it was formed before.
I could not tell you the history of the board beyond what I know from my own practice, which began in 1992 when we started down in Washington Street. I was actually came in just as the new law had been introduced, so I did not have the experience under the old act. My training was all under the new act. So we started off at Washington Street with a very old building that could only handle a couple people going up in the elevator at a time. I think from there we progressed over to Congress Street, and now we're over in Lafayette. I think my history there, I will echo that I think it is probably right now some of the finest judges that we've had in the board over the past 20-something years that I've been doing this.
Why do you think the legislature passed the law that formed the board? I think it was 1921. Why do you think they did that? What was the purpose of this board?
I think the purpose was to protect the injured worker. Obviously, to go through a system where someone had to file a civil complaint and it could take years before it would get to a judge or a trial in which a decision would be rendered, folks would be left without any income. And that obviously puts them in an incredibly difficult position, not just for themselves, but also for their family members. So the statute was designed to protect that injured worker, someone who's doing their job through no fault of their own gets hurt, and at that point needs to be compensated.
Your history seems to be one of representing companies and insurance companies, correct?
I actually have had the benefit of, for the past 10 years, representing just self-insured, Partners Healthcare, who now is Mass General Brigham Incorporated. My representation of them has actually been quite unique, which is why I really enjoy the work. I get to spend a lot of time at the levels of occupational health, working with human resources, not your typical situation where you're working through an insurance company or a third-party adjuster. So for me, when I can sit in a meeting, once a month or once every 2 months and actually sit around a table and talk about the individuals, not the cases, but the individuals who are bringing their claims, that, we're able to know things about how many kids do they have, how long have they worked for the hospital, what are that background information that, plays into how a case is handled. I particularly remember a case, I think it was with Attorney Gray, where the hospital just kept saying to me, she's such a lovely woman and such a good worker. We really are very, very sorry that this happened to her, and we would love to have her back, but understandably can't because she can no longer work. And it was a great pleasure for me to be able to stand up at the board during her settlement hearing and be able to echo those words to her. And in fact, afterwards, she came up and gave me a hug, as did her mom, which was not something you typically get as an insurance defense attorney, but it felt good.
Okay, so here's my hypothetical to you. You're sitting on a case, and that case is right on the line, right on the borderline. you could go either way with this decision and nobody would criticize you for it. It's that close. And judges, a lot of times, are in a position where it's close, right? So you're on the case, it's close, you could go either way and nobody's going to criticize you. What do you do?
Well, like in baseball, the tie goes to the runner. I think that we all know under the workers' comp statute that the tie needs to go to the employee. No, the runner is the employee.
Because in my view, I don't work down there. I did some things 40 years ago there. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was helped by insurance lawyers that would take me and tell me everything I needed to do. That's how collegial it was back then. So, but it's the board, in my view, is there to give, if ever possible, compensation to the injured worker, barring fraud or deceit or something like that. So the call should go to that injured worker whenever possible, in my view, but I'm not the judge there. But I like your answer. Let me ask you about the marijuana issue. Did you vote for the marijuana question?
Can I plead the fifth? I'll tell you, I at the time had 2 young children, so no, I did not vote for it being legal.
So if somebody is diagnosed with whatever pain or whatever, and the recommendation from a doctor is that they be given marijuana to treat their pain or sleep or whatever, are you going to have an issue with that?
It's not an issue for me that someone is prescribed medical marijuana. That does not concern me in the least. I think that it certainly serves a purpose. I think the different question, though, is whether legally, as a judge, you can order it. And I think we actually have defined case law at this moment that would not allow a judge at the board to enter specific order awarding medical marijuana.
Why not? Why not?
Well, because there's case law on it right now that's up on appeal. Maybe perhaps once the appeals court issues a decision, it may be different. But at the moment, the standing law is that a judge cannot order an insurer to pay for medical marijuana because it is considered a controlled substance.
Not under the state of Massachusetts, it is.
No, it's not. Absolutely.
So why is a judge care about federal government? Massachusetts gives you the right to possess marijuana, or anybody the right to possess and get medical marijuana.
Because unfortunately, the Massachusetts statute only protects the insurance company and the employers who would be paying for that from prosecution under state law. But unfortunately, they could still be subject to prosecution under federal law.
So wouldn't you, as a judge, be better ordering it and letting the insurance company take it up to the SJC?
I think a judge at this point has to follow the letter of the law, and we have that case law right now until it changes.
Well, I disagree with you on what a judge does with the law. My 42 years of practicing, judges come before us, nominees all the time, saying, I'm going to follow the law. And I say, well, what does that mean? And they don't have an answer for me because they don't follow the law. Respectfully, they interpret the law with the facts in front of them. And you, as a DIA judge with one case, may decide something that another judge in another courtroom would have decided something different, correct?
Absolutely.
So you interpret the law. So my suggestion is, you don't have to take it, is to be bold as a judge. Make them go up to the SJC, get rulings. That's how things change. That's how people get better things in Massachusetts, okay? I'm going to add, did you study for this interview you had today?
Did I study?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, we're going to be asked questions, so you had to prepare.
I certainly did some homework, yes.
Let me ask you. Tell me what rule 452 CMR Rule 1.06 is?
No idea.
You get an A for honesty. It is the modification or discontinuance of compensation. You familiar with it?
Yes.
No. What else did I want to ask you? Have you ever heard of a case called the Joseph Gately's case? Okay, it's a 1993 case. And it is, I'm told, one of the kind of famous cases in the history of the Duxbury Accident Board. So I want to ask you about it then, if you're not aware of it. I have gotten some good reviews from Christopher and Ianella, who I respect his judgment very much. Billy Nyland called me and spent about 2 hours of my evening when I was reading. He interrupted me to keep me on the phone talking about you. And I said, Billy, we're going to vote on her. We're not going to make a saint out of her. Enough. And Michael S. Cajun also sent me an email on your behalf. So you come very highly recommended, and that means a lot to me. And I hope, I can't make you do it, but I hope that you will take this seat and act in a very different way than the person that you're replacing up there. Judges,
Thank you.
Judges, the less they say, the better. Okay? Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Hurley, any questions? Councillor Duff, any questions?
Excuse me.
We're having trouble hearing.
Can't hear.
Yeah, I'm having trouble period,
Okay.
with my video
Can you-
and my audio.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear it now.
Okay.
My battery's running low. Plug back into that. I just have a couple comments. We spoke prior to the hearing today, and the most important thing to me is that the workers get the benefit of the doubt and are treated fairly and respectfully. And I did my homework in terms of having my law firm, Pellegrini Sealy, check with the folks down where you practice. So you have gotten very good marks, and I intend to support you. Thank you.
Ask her again. She can't hear. Ask her again.
Councillor Duff, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I asked if you had any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I have more than a question. I have a couple of comments. One, I think you have a stellar resume. Having lived in DC for a long time, Johns Hopkins is just an outstanding university. And it looks like you graduated from BC Law probably around the same time as my sister, although she may have been a little earlier than you. The thing that impresses me the most about you, though, is that you seem to have, and not to say that others don't have this, because it might come off that way, but you have a real sense of humanity when it comes to addressing these cases. And I thank you for that, because it seems more and more, not just in our courts, but just in our society in general, we're losing a little bit of a sense of, we are our brother's keeper. And the analogy you made of tie goes to the runner and it goes to the worker, it is how I've always understood this court. And it's nice to know that that is the same understanding that you have if you go forward to sit on it. So I really just wanted to say that. I've heard just tremendous things about you. And it's a great nomination. So congratulations to you and to your family for you being here today.
Thank you, Councilor Duff. Councilor Anello, did you speak? I'm sorry, I don't think you did you?
You forgot me, Martha.
Oh, my. You know, it's hard because you're in and out on Zoom and I'm not seeing everybody's face, so you got to raise your hand.
All right, thank you, thank you. I don't have any questions. I want you to know that I did also receive phone calls from Stephen Brendemuel, from Sean Flaherty, and Bill Nealon. It was funny to hear Bob Juvenville when he says Bill Nealon kept him on the phone for 2 hours. Bill Nealon and I are members of the same country club down the Cape, and just to set up a tea time, I go, Bill, enough. I got to get out of here. He talks and talks and talks. He doesn't stop talking. But he's such a nice guy, and he really spoke highly of you. I have no questions. I was very impressed with the 3 witnesses that came before the board today. I think you're smart. I think you're compassionate. And I think you're going to be a great addition to the board. And I look forward to voting for you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. This is very difficult looking at Zoom. I only see 3 councilors. Am I missing somebody? Councilor Kennedy, or I think Councilor Ferrara already spoke. I guess that's it. If I've, I don't think I've overlooked anyone. Thank you, councilors. So I want to thank you for the 4 hours you spent with me. And, it was so nice that, we could, it opened up and we were able to, meet face to face. And I really appreciate it. I like to do that because I'm not voting for someone on a paper, I'm voting for a whole person. Right. And as I said, I don't have a poker face, and I'm just so pleased. And I thank you again for reapplying. We would have lost you. But for people, I want people to know, because we've had some technical problems. We're in the State House. I am presiding in the State House alone, and my colleagues are all on Zoom, the councilors, and we are in a large room, and we are practicing safely social distancing with the nominee and witnesses, and so I want you to know that. But I do want to say that we talked about a lot of things, and I'm concerned. Obviously, injured workers. That's the main thing. They have to put food on the table. Can you tell me I know it's probably difficult in the years that you have been a lawyer, but is there one that stands out that was so rewarding for you that you helped that injured worker?
I think the case that I talked about before with Attorney Gray, I mean, we were really able to be very creative in that case. That case actually did involve medical marijuana. The judge at the time was not able to issue an order. He also was trying to be creative. So we were able to reach an agreement with the understanding of both sides that there would be an additional amount added to the settlement that would cover the cost of the future benefits that she needed for medical expenses. And I think just all of us understanding that that was something that was going to help the injured worker. And like she said, she had a 9-year-old son, and she was being so very careful about how she used the product. She was very hesitant to use it because she had a young child. So you could see even her own struggle in trying to do, what she was perceiving as the right thing by her child, but also trying to deal with her own pain so that as a single mother, she could continue to function and provide for her child. So that was an incredibly rewarding case to work on.
And what was the most disappointing?
Disappointing in what respect? Disappointing. Well, I did have a case that involved fraud, and I can tell you in all the years of doing this, I've only had, I think, maybe 2 cases where it was outright fraud. And we did end up getting a decision from a judge awarding a penalty to the employee for the fraud. And The disappointing part of it was that nothing came of it because within moments of having gotten the hearing decision, the employee filed for bankruptcy, so there was no recourse. So that was disappointing.
Right. Well, I'm not going to take the fifth, and I'm going to disagree with my my colleague. I am for medical marijuana, but I had two very close friends whose sons started out with marijuana, and they died of overdose of heroin. Maybe that's not with everybody, but that's what colored my opinion when I went to vote, and I voted no. But I am absolutely 100% for medical marijuana. In fact, I have a friend that has cancer, and it is helping him so tremendously. So, but again, you know, I hope I didn't embarrass you by bringing this up, but I had to say that you were approved in January 2019, and you didn't get the job, and you came back, and I can't thank you enough. I have got so many people who have sung your praises, and the councils have said that to you, and you witnesses. So, you know, you're going to be joining a great group of people. They're wonderful members, and you got a great chief here, and I'm looking forward for you to do good things.
Thank you.
And, you know, we're going to get that 6 years, so don't lose any sleep over that. That is unbelievable. 4 years, 9 months. No way. It's not going to happen. And I'm standing by the Mass General Law. So I thank you, and I thank everyone for coming. And thank you in Zoom, even though you can't see me, I am here. So thank you, councilors. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I'm going to adjourn.